So this exhibit on Titanic was in Cosi Museum, Columbus, Ohio, and it had various artifacts from Titanic. This here that these articles were very carefully extracted and preserved, and there were 2,228 passengers on this ship. So let me show you a little bit of these exhibits and hope you'll enjoy it. As you enter the exhibits, the first thing I saw was this bell. Built in 1907, sank in 1912. The next hard to miss thing is this submersible. A typical dive mission takes about 15 hours. And this includes 2.5 hours back and forth to reach the submersible. And it also explains how it extracts. Basically, they don't enter the hull of the ship, but it has extendable arms that can retrieve objects. Pretty cool. So this here is a little bit about PH, who led the first mission to the Titanic in 1987. He actually died in 2023 in one of his missions to retrieve objects, and many of the objects they say here were retrieved by his team. He, before joining this French company, worked in Navy for 22 years. So here it says Titanic was lost for 73 years, about 2 miles deep in earth where pressure is 6,000 pounds per square inch. This was pretty cool. They say that hundreds of ceramic plates were found intact, lying neatly in the rows. Here is depicting how the hull of the ship looks at the bed of the sea now. Also information about rusticas, which are huge colonies of bacteria and fungi that look like rust but are actually eating away the ship. This was the exhibit where you could touch through the hole a part of the ship. This here is porthole frame, probably in one of the dining room areas in the first class. And it says here that it must have been dislodged during the sinking of the ship. So here it's written that it's really spectacular and ghostly image, like a big mountain peeking at you when you dive there. And they're also talking about they need to recover as much as they can because rusticals are in a decade or so eat away everything. So this here provides a little bit contextual information of the time, that 1900s, a lot of optimism and progress happening. Europeans are immigrating to USA, and because of that, liner business is thriving, and there's competition to have better and faster and more luxurious ocean liners. Birth of a legend. So at a dinner party in 1907, chair of White Star, Bruce Ismay, and Harland and Wolff chair, Lord Perry, together decided to construct 3 ships. And 2 of these, Olympic and Titanic, work on these had to start immediately. Ismay, White Star, a liner chair, and Lord Perry for Hardy and Wolff. Titanic whistles. Unlike regular ships, these were organ pipes that would give very pleasant sound instead of a loud buzz. Thomas Andrews, Managing Director of Ship Design. Bollards, massive posts that were also used to tie the ship at the harbor. And as listed here, they were also used for ventilating the third class cabin. A year before Voyage pilot launch, where 100,000 people came to see, is mentioning personal items that were recovered, and passengers had to mark their bags as wanted and unwanted. Not wanted items were stacked away, and these were the items that you didn't need during the voyage. It's a very interesting story of the commander, Edward J. Smith, who actually wanted to retire, but they begged him to go for one more, and of course he didn't survive that. And it mentions here that he was really loved by his passengers. So this is sort of like the hallway that is modeling the ship's quarters, and from here you walk and then enter the next exhibit. Various items, gold lockets and chains, watches, jewelry, and pins recovered from the ship. This describes a little bit about the three classes and in general at that time, the class distinction. And these are various personal items that have been recovered after about 100 years from the wreckage site. Ceramic little shoe with a figurine of a cat on it. These items were from the dining area of the first class. And these blue ones were for the second class passengers. These were water closets for the third class cabin. Tip basin, luxury items for first class. So this model shows the interior of the first class room. So a lot of people recognize this. It was in the Titanic movie. One of the scenes just before it hit the iceberg. So it's that awesome, spectacular dining area in the first class. But these are recreations. You can't put real things out in the elements. You have to preserve them. If they're out in elements. No, these are better part of exhibits. So we have to be respectful. Now we are deep in the trenches. Let's see. Let's read them for me. क्या है profession क्या है? All right. Very good. Trimmer. Curl. Trimmer. Very good. What is this? Main pond. Boiler rooms.
Boiler rooms. Titanic's hardest work was done in her boiler rooms. Deep in the holds of the ship, in 159 coal-fired furnaces heated Titanic's 29 boilers, which created enough steam to power the ship's electrical plant and turn Titanic's propellers, which pushed the ship through the sea. The men who worked in Titanic's boiler rooms were the true engines that powered the ship, known as the Black Gang, due to the nature of their work. The men in the boiler rooms carted and shoveled thousands of tons of coal each day, stoking furnaces and regulating steam levels in the boilers. Their task was vital, their labor invisible, their work an endless cycle that was to continue until Titanic arrived in New York.
Now let's show them the boilers.
Let the baby scream.
These are the boilers.
Why do the babies scream?
Boilers. Watertight. Stay here, please. 1:45 p.m. Ice warning. Pass to large icebergs. But despite several warnings, they were heedless and kept going on. And a lot of time accidents are confluence of several small misfortunes, and in this case even the two lookouts did not have binoculars. It was moonless night, and hence when they saw the shadows of big mountain ahead, the iceberg, it was too late. This is the movie that I was saying we will watch. Yeah, जब वो sinking start हो जाए. नहीं. Parts of it. So, first-hand accounts of various surviving passengers. The first one reads, "Through the portholes, we saw ice rubbing against the ship's sides. For some, it was just a dull thump." Yet another passenger says, "I didn't even feel the shock. There was no jolt whatsoever." And then another says, "It was a severe shock, just like thunder, the roar of thunder." Violet, the stewardess, says, "Crash, then a low, rending, crunching, ripping sound as Titanic shivered a trifle and her engines gently ceased."
Yeah, this is what it hit. Not this, something like that. Yeah, it's cold. Don't hug the iceberg. That's so cute. We don't like the iceberg.
Did Elsa make us smell the iceberg? No. It's so cold. Do not touch it. It's so cold. You need to touch it. You'll get out.
The night of April 14, 1912 is clear and bitterly cold. Up in the crow's nest, lookouts Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee scan the unusually calm sea. Neither man has binocular, which were misplaced in the rush to get Titanic ready for service, making their task even more difficult on this moonless night. Suddenly, a dark mass looms off the ship's bow. Fleet grabs the bell clapper and rings 3 times, then phones his report to the bridge's iceberg right ahead. On the bridge, First Officer William Murdoch orders the ship's wheel put hard over and the engines reverse. But Titanic is slow to turn. After many long seconds, the bow starts to swing. Titanic misses the main body of the iceberg, but below the surface, she strikes an underwater spur that opens 6 small slits over a 300-foot span in the ship's hull, opening 6 watertight compartments to the sea. Following the collision, Titanic's designer Thomas Andrew Jr. inspects the damage and makes his fatal report to Captain Smith. The ship can float with 2 watertight compartments flooded. She can survive the loss of the first 4, but this damage makes sinking a mathematical certainty. Titanic is doomed. So this here is the mechanical arm called davit, which is used to launch the lifeboats in water in case of emergency, and it was double acting and could pick up rows of lifeboats and launch them into water. But unfortunately, the number of lifeboats, which were originally 40, were cut down to save costs. And none of the executives admitted that they authorized it. So this kind of talks about how original design had 32 lifeboats that could save about 2,000 passengers. But then to save costs, they were cut to 20 lifeboats because it was already above the regulatory limits. The other sad part listed here is that only 2 of the 20 lifeboats were filled to capacity, and partly because in the very beginning many passengers were unwilling to part the practically unsinkable ship. This is the lifeboat shown to scale. Many heartbreaking stories. Brave Margaret Brown taking charge from unstable quartermaster to help her fellow women. So each person visiting had a boarding pass with name of actual passengers, and in the end of the exhibit you could scan it at the station to see whether the person on your boarding pass survived or not.
That were assigned to us. She
she's gonna check whether the cards that were assigned to us, who are the survivors and not, and the names are written in this list here. Yeah, you have to put this.
Go to that second.
So let's
See
do
where
it.
you put it here. Like this. This person died. Annie Clement.
Let's do the next one.
What do you mean? Where did he die?
She perished.
Alright, so now do this.
I was barely sure.
He also died. Harvey Cordy.
And now let's do the third one.
They survived. This
We have at
family.
least one who survived.
I wasn't done reading. I was having night.
So this is a memorial wall showing all the passengers and crew's name. In the crew, 209 were saved, only 22%. In third class, 181 were saved, which is only 25%. In second class, 116 were saved, which is only 41%. And in first class, 199 were saved, which is 61%. And the only class where more people were saved than lost.
Yep, you died. I survived.
Now at the tail end of the exhibit, in the background, sounds of who survived, who didn't survive, and kind of also created or elicited these feelings of you never know. This talks about investigations in USA and UK after this disaster and what changes need to be made in terms of safer routes and what other regulations are needed to ensure safety. So the exhibit ends with a profound thought that we are all passengers on the Titanic.